Welcome back to the Brotherhood Blitz, where digital playbooks meet real passion. Every week, we break down the storylines, the strategy, and the pure chaos that only a simulation league can deliver. And the best part, you can jump in to the action yourself, create your player, get recruited through the league's Discord, and watch your journey unfold live on Twitch as you battle teams across the league. I'm here with my brother and co-host 409K, and we're about to break down all the action.
And it's gonna be a pretty good episode. Took a week off for Christmas and a few other things, which I'll allow my brother to kind of get into.
Yeah, took a week off. We were gonna say, hey, let's go ahead and do this episode this week, and this was last week. And then we were like, you know what? We don't want to rush it. You know, having to rush it and just throw something out there and upload it. But we celebrated. My brother here moved back to Texas, so that was nice. Saw him. What it was over a year since we've seen each other.
Yep, I moved up to Nebraska in right before my 23rd birthday in September of 24, and I've lived in basically Nebraska and lived in Ohio and then moved back to Nebraska for a little bit, for a little over a year, and then just recently on Tuesday, before Christmas, I moved back.
And yeah, I saw you on Christmas Day, so that was nice. And now we're gonna be back at it, doing these episodes. We got playoffs coming up, so it's gonna be an exciting one. It's not gonna be as long as our usual episodes, as we don't have players of the week this week or hit stick play of the week, as um, we took a week break and we don't have that stuff on the website and stuff. So, uh, but we're here to break down what we remember 2 weeks ago in week 8, and then we'll talk about the upcoming games here next week for week 9.
Yeah, and also a little bit of why it'll be short. I'm not fully set up with my computer and everything. Still waiting to get a desk and get fully unpacked as well. So kind of hard to have what all I need on my screen when I'm doing this for my phone.
Yeah, but definitely didn't want to take 2 weeks off and then be backlogged. So here we are. We're gonna put together an episode for y'all, and we'll jump right into it. A little bit, talk a little bit about week 8.
Yeah, we'll start off with the first game on week 8 where UNC upset Maryland 37-17, and which looked to be a close. Remember, I think it was a close game at first, and then kind of UNC just hit the gas and never looked back.
Yeah, it was. This was one of the great games to look forward to during this week, and it definitely started off like that. But yeah, like you said, UNC just kind of uh, strung together drives and finished those drives well, and put up 37 points against, at the time, I believe it was number 2 Maryland.
I believe that is correct, and UNC was, I think, ranked right outside, I think, number 6, which we'll get into rankings, what the rankings were going into week 9 here shortly. But going into, uh, and one more thing also on that game, UNC's quarterback, Ryan Winley, had a pretty amazing game through the air, had 32, almost 33 fantasy points, and had almost 400 yards passing.
Yeah, great game for sure.
Going into the next game from week 8, as Texas beats Mizzou 38-6, and Mizzou trying to get that crucial first win of the season and just wasn't quite able to get anything going against ranked number 1.
Yeah, this it's not, it's as expected, with Mizzou trying to get their first win, and they got one more shot, as they are not going to make the playoffs, but they got one more shot next week against Arkansas, and we'll see what they can do against a pretty good team there as well. But yeah, Texas taking that one.
And Mizzou obviously wasn't able to get anything going early as Texas kind of got off to a hot start. But that second quarter, Mizzou looked, I remember Mizzou looked like a completely different football team, holding Texas to little to no offense for a good decent bit through up until halftime and going into the third quarter. Just their offense kind of couldn't get anything going, only managing, I believe it's two. No, it was a touch. I can't remember. It was two field goals
Two
or
field goals, yeah.
something, and then Texas kind of just took over when fatigue set in for Mizzou and put up 38 points.
Going into the next game of Week 8, you had Miami taking on Georgia, and that game was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be.
I do agree. Georgia only one win on the season, not the season that I expected or a lot of people expected them to have, as I had them being in the top 8 teams in the league go when we had our preseason episode, and only a one win to name for that, but holding a very dominant and on paper one of the best teams in the league, Miami, to only 26 points. You gotta feel proud about that in the direction that you're kind of going. Just the offense can't find anything clicking. They haven't really had anything clicking all season. So kind of curious what the mindset is going into the offseason and what they look to fix going forward.
Yeah, they had a great offense this previous offseason. Had a good recruiting class, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do in this upcoming offense, and exciting for them. And hopefully, they'll have a better season next season.
Yeah, they had in my opinion, the best recruiting class of any team in the offseason. And could just be that a lot of the players are young and need time to grow into develop into better players, or it could just be the type of scheme potentially that the offense is running. So hard to say kind of what the issues are, but the blatant issue is you got to be able to score points.
Definitely. Going on to the next
Go-
game, you got FAU taking on Virginia Tech, in which Virginia Tech scores 55 against Florida Atlantic's 33.
And that's a game that we both had kind of circled as a kind of a must watch game and a kind of a must win game for FAU in terms of kind of staying in that top half of the league and not being in kind of a playing spot to where, yeah, you might be facing a team in the bottom half, but when that game you're facing, ranked 2 or ranked 1 in the, you know, quarterfinals of the playoffs. So not winning that game hurts them, and then going into, the week 9 game, which we'll get into later against Miami, a lot is on the line for FAU in terms of seeding and positioning in the playoffs. I do think they are going to make the playoffs whether they win or lose. It's just a matter of whether you're going to be a lot higher, 7 or 8, or you're going to be stuck at 9, potentially even go to 10, which very unlikely that it does happen. But VT proving top team in the league as always. Venom knows what he's doing, and he has proven that week in and week out.
Yeah, if Virginia Tech, uh, you know, lost this one, they'd be going into that UNC game with moderate wind, light snow, in which I know they did not want to do. So it's good to get that one win out of the way going into the last week. Obviously, we're going to want to win this next one coming up too, as well. And FAU on the other side, now they're 4-4, going up against one of the you know top teams in the league on paper. Um, if they lose this one, I could definitely see them dropping to 10. Um, but I agree with you, though, what you said earlier. I think they make playoffs regardless if they win or lose this next game. Um, but I could see a situation where Arkansas does jump them if they lose this next one. So it's gonna be interesting to see. And yeah, that was yeah. I remember talking about this game, 2 weeks ago.
Well, you get also the thing is, I had to talk about Arkansas potentially jumping them. I don't think there's a chance in Arkansas jumping them, but there is a chance for Arkansas to not make the playoffs if they don't beat Mizzou next week. Because I don't see how a team that loses, yeah, yeah. Me personally, I don't see a way where FAU falls lower than 10, but there's definitely room to move up if they beat Miami.
I agree.
And the next game on the Week 8 slate is Hawaii beating ECU 48-34, and which was a nuclear clinic for Hawaii in their passing game, which one of the receivers, I believe, had 3 catches, 225 yards, no, 4 catches, 225 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that was a fun one to watch, to say the least. It was pretty close up until, if I remember correctly, around the fourth quarter. So pretty much all the way there to the end. ECU hanging in there, and it kind of looked like, especially that first half, they looked good against Hawaii, and you could definitely tell a good game plan was put in place for ECU.
And ECU just obviously under new coaching changes and new scheme on offense, they have looked a lot different, a lot better in terms of being more competitive in games. Just not able to win the ones that they needed to at the right time, and kind of a rough stretch in the beginning portion of the season under the former coach, head coach that they had. And playoffs very, very, very unlikely unless you have tons and tons of help from other teams losing and winning. Um, but you got to look towards next season and really try and dial in and see what can you fix on this team as you look towards next season.
Going on to Michigan versus LSU. One of those games I did not expect it to be as different of the score as it was.
At the point differential, the point margin was a lot bigger. I thought Michigan would give a lot more of a fight than they did against LSU, but LSU found something that they liked against in Sims against Michigan, and it in the actual game, proved to be that they can score and score at will, and their defense can get stops.
Yeah, LSU scoring 56 against Michigan 17. So, definitely a good show out for LSU heading into the last week of the regular season.
And Michigan needing a win there to have some better percentage of even having a chance at the playoffs. Now your playoff hopes are very, very slim unless you can, win in week 9 and have a few teams ahead of you like Arkansas and ECU both lose. Very, very unlikely that playoffs are in the horizon there for Michigan.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on to the next one, Alabama versus Rutgers in a light rain, moderate wind game. And yeah, very low scoring game as Rutgers tops Alabama 17-13.
And it's a game that just came down to strategy. Rutgers known for the rushing attack. Bama kind of under a little bit of a head coaching change, trying to figure something out. Obviously, playoffs are out of the picture now, being out of contention. But putting up a fight against a playoff team, some good signs and good things to see as you look towards the offseason.
Yeah, Bama's been looking pretty good these past few weeks with the coaching change. So exciting what they do in the off season and going into next season for sure.
As you go into the last game for Week 8, as Arkansas beats Louisville 34-13, and kind of keeping their playoff hopes alive, and probably clinching the playoffs with that win potentially, pending that they can also beat Mizzou.
Yeah, 34-13. Yeah, Arkansas taking that one. Um, yeah, they're definitely gonna need uh, one more win to really secure their spot. Because yeah, like you said, if they lose next week, there's I mean it's a low chance that they don't make playoffs, but there is a chance.
No, obviously, if they lose, Michigan or ECU would both have to win, and
Yeah,
then you'd also have to put all three of their schedules next to each other and
yep,
all different, best wins, best losses, quality wins, quality losses type of thing, and really dive deep, and especially with the playoff committee or the voting committee. That's a tough one that uh, would be hard to kind of gauge on which team deserves to be in.
yep. But uh, next week will tell.
No, next week's going to tell, week 9, which is this upcoming week, is going to tell a lot of things in terms of what to look for come playoff time.
Yeah, that was week 8. Uh, like we said earlier, no player of the week for this week due to it not being on the website anymore, so we can't really see it. But yeah, that was week 8. What do you have for game of the week that week?
I'm going to go with that Maryland. No, because I think I remember my pick for potential game of the week was that Maryland
Yeah,
UNC
yeah,
game.
that was
I'm gonna
both
go
of
with that.
ours.
I'm gonna go with the Bama Rutgers.
Yeah, I was kind of eyeing that one. Um, really, the only other, like the next closest one would be ECU versus Hawaii, just due to the first half and the third quarter. ECU still kind of staying in there, and then that fourth quarter kind of got out of hand. But uh, ECU definitely did put up a good fight.
And yeah, it was a lot tougher. Wasn't really a ton of close games in a way, but I think my pick would be the Alabama Rutgers one.
And then we did have a little sneak peek potential matchups that came
I was
out.
actually just about to bring that up.
Yeah, that just came out this morning. Actually, Gates put this out. So if the season ended today, this is how the playoffs would look. And so yeah, the first two games would be LSU versus FAU, and then Rutgers versus Arkansas. And then we have Texas at number 1 seed taking on the winner of LSU or FAU, and then UNC and Maryland would face off, and then Hawaii
That's
would,
a rough one.
yeah, and then Hawaii would be taking on the winner of Rutgers and Arkansas, and then VT and Miami would be going at it again.
Yeah, a lot of excuse me, repeat matchups, which if any of you have been around sim leagues long enough, it is hard to beat the same team twice.
Oh, definitely, very very tough.
And we coming from us losing the national championship and us beating LSU in the regular season last season, it's hard to beat the same team twice.
Definitely. So these playoffs this season are one of the toughest playoff teams. It's going to be very tough this season.
I think this also this playoffs is a lot more competitive in terms of I can realistically see any of these teams beating anyone else.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with all the upsets we've had this season, and I think
This
that's the
season has been
key.
this season's been filled with a lot more upsets than previous seasons that have been in the league.
Yeah, it definitely, you know, wakes you up and realize you can't overlook anybody.
Not at all. I can't even underlook the the bottom half of the league teams either, as they've upset some of these bigger teams, and it's kind of put a dent into their flaws, and they're still in the kind of the same book and running the same type of style of offense and defense. That's a big red flag that teams look for going into game planning and looking at ways to you know get the win.
Yeah, for sure. So, we got one more week coming up of regular season. So we'll definitely see if these matchups change much or if they stay like they are. So it's going to be interesting to see. But we'll go ahead and jump right into week 9. As the first game of the Tuesday slate, you got East Carolina taking on Louisville. Both teams out of the playoff race. Um, as well,
ECU
some
is not technically.
yeah, technically ECU could still make it with a lot of help. Um, so that
They have a less than 1% chance, I would say, but it's
yeah,
still a possibility.
yeah, I wouldn't rule them out yet, but they got a team coming up that they will definitely need to beat if they still want a slim chance going into the playoffs.
And it's also a tough game with it being a rainy and windy uh, game as well. Louisville has looked a lot different this season. It hasn't had the best of season as they did last season, where they kind of went in this huge stretch. Starting off, I think it was like 4-0, 5-0 before losing a game, and just haven't had quite the same season or the same type of offense of success that they did last season. ECU we talked about um, has looked a lot better these last previous weeks. Just kind of the rough start at the beginning of the season has kind of hurt and slimmed their chances of making the playoffs to nil. But if I had to pick a winner, I am going to pick ECU to win this game.
Yeah, you got light rain and what is it? Yeah, light breeze, light rain. So definitely gonna have to see some running games here. You got Clemson book versus I believe Auburn book. So you got a pistol offense versus spread.
Spread.
Yeah, so definitely it's gonna be a good one. You're gonna see a lot of running probably, um, but it'll be interesting to see who has a good passing game in the light rain, the light breeze. But I'm gonna agree with you here. I'm gonna take ECU on this one.
And I will say the key focal point for this game, like you said, is going to be the running game and who can run more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, and both of those books can do that.
Is whether or not both their halfbacks and quarterbacks can.
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup, but I got ECU.
Going on into the second game of the Tuesday slate, you got number 6 Miami taking on number 9 FAU. And just to clarify, this is hate week. This is rivalry week, week 9, the last week of the season. All these teams, they might not be rivals IRL, but they're rivals here in the VGL. So just to clarify that. But kind of give me your thoughts on what this game can entail, as a lot of seeding and seeding implications for playoffs for this game.
Yeah, seeding is going to be huge in this matchup, and this game has potential to be fireworks for sure. We got potential New Year's coming up, so it fits the narrative. And Miami sitting at 6th seed and Florida Atlantic sitting at 9th seed. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, if the playoffs ended today, Miami would have that bye, um, and then FAU would be facing off in the first round against LSU. Uh, so if FAU can pull this off, there might be a little switcheroo there, with FAU getting a bye potentially and knocking the Miami back to round one instead of round two. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, it is a lot of implications. Like you mentioned, FAU hasn't had the season that they probably expected, that a lot of us expected, with losing some games that they really were on paper better in some instances, and then obviously some teams that kind of outmatched, outclassed in a way. But Miami has looked a lot different after their undefeated regular season last season, and obviously losing in the semis in the memorable Snowgate game that they like to say is the reason that they lost. Besides the point, it's gonna be a tough game. I think turnovers and are gonna be the key factor for Miami if they can limit those, and I think if FAU can just get the run game going, uh, they have a really good shot in controlling that time of possession.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think I'm going to have to take Miami on this one. I think, um, their defense on paper is absolutely amazing. And I think, uh, they'll be stopping Florida Atlantic's offense. But yeah, I got Miami taking this one.
I also have Miami taking this game. There's bits and pieces of me thinking with the rain that FAU is going to make this a lot different of a ball game than most might think.
No rain.
Oh, it's just overcast.
Yeah,
The wind then. That's what I meant.
yeah, light
I thought it
breeze.
was rain. I was looking at that and I saw that and thought it was rain. No, it's wind.
Yeah. Yeah, so a little bit of wind. Not moderate. Wind will not be moderating. Just a little light breeze. So still a factor for sure. But yeah, I have Miami taking that one.
And we'll go into the third game of the Tuesday slate. It's a little kind of a different uh, style that we are seeing for week 9, as number 10 Arkansas are going to take on number 16 Mizzou, and Mizzou's final chance this season to get a win.
Yeah, they got one more shot here in uh, you know season 7 to get a win against number 10 Arkansas. And on the other side, Arkansas, you almost can say this is a must win. If they lose to number 16 and ECU and Michigan both win, that's not going to look good to the committee on if they should stay number 10.
Yeah, I agree. A win, obviously, you might as well just say you clinch the playoffs at that point, with no really way for you to drop after a loss or after a win, excuse me. But a loss to a team that hasn't won a game, giving them their first win of the season, that's a bad look. It's a bad loss, like you said, and then now you have a kind of a three-way look and in terms of who could potentially have that number 10 spot. Um, but a lot would have to happen for Arkansas to drop anyways, even if they did lose, because you'd also have to think Michigan and ECU both have to win.
Yeah, in which ECU has a better chance of winning than Michigan will, as we will talk about that coming up.
Agreed.
But going on to the next one, you got Alabama taking on Georgia, which is classic rivalry. So it's going to be a fun one. Both teams out of the playoffs for sure, as there is absolutely no way. As Alabama is 2-6, Georgia is 1-7. Both teams kind of looking to just get that win going into the off season and take that momentum. into recruiting and go from there. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. As I believe we got, man, another light breeze game. So who do you have taking that one?
To go back, I don't think we picked the Arkansas Mizzou, but I have Arkansas winning that game. And then going into the Alabama Georgia game, it's going to be a lot closer game. Both these teams are kind of somewhat evenly matched up on paper in certain aspects. I think Georgia on paper has a better team, and I know a lot more about Gene. I am going to go with Georgia getting their second win of the season and the upset.
Yeah, that's my bad. I skipped over that one. I also am picking Arkansas. But yes, Alabama versus Georgia, like you said, very evenly matched. Um, you picking Georgia. I'm going to go with Alabama here. I think they've been playing really well with a new coach, and I think they're going to play well again here at Georgia. So, yeah, I'm going to take Alabama taking this one.
And I can see the reasoning behind that, and that's no offense to Rationale at all. He's proven. I mean, getting and it was an upset the other week. I forgot who they played. Um, but he's shown he can do well in the league. Obviously, couldn't quite get the win over Rutgers, but this team looks a lot different and looks a lot more fun to watch um, than previously. And who knows? They have a realistic shot of winning. So we'll see.
Yeah, UNC is who they faced a few weeks ago and pulled off the upset.
Week 7.
Yeah,
Gotcha. I could tell that week break has has hurt my knowledge a little bit.
yeah. Going on to the next game, second game of the Wednesday slate. We got number 1 Texas taking on number 8 LSU.
National championship rematch.
Yep, national championship rematch and going in with the rivalry week. It's gonna be a fun one. Definitely not a LSU is as we're both coaches for Texas. LSU is definitely not a team to overlook. They definitely got some firepower on that roster, and we're definitely going to have to lock in this week.
I definitely agree, and Jonesy has had some really good showings of games and the firepower they can put on offense and how quickly they can score and get out to a quick and big lead early. This is going to be another very close game, I think, in terms of national championship level type of game that we had last season. This game can legitimately go either way.
Yeah, I agree, and it's the one
And that's the
game
first
this
time
week.
I've said that this season.
Yeah, this is the one game this week with perfect weather, as we have clear, calm, 71 degrees, and in the evening, it's gonna be a great night of
Sounds
football.
about right for LSU game.
Yeah, uh, yeah, I agree. This could definitely go either way, and it's one that we're gonna have to really lock in and put some sims in and put that work in.
And I wish nothing but luck to LSU, but Tigers going down on Wednesday. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know, definitely am not for sure not biased, but I got Texas on this one.
Agreed. And like I said, wish nothing but luck to LSU and Jonesy.
Going on to first game of the Thursday slate, you got Hawaii taking on Michigan, and which is a definitely must win for Michigan as they have one of those three bubble teams that definitely need a win this week. It's going to be tough for Michigan as
Sliver of hope.
they're taking on Hawaii, but like we said earlier, if Arkansas loses to Mizzou, that's a horrible, horrible win, or sorry, loss against uh, a winless uh, last seeded team in Mizzou. And if that happens and Michigan pulls this off against number two Hawaii, who is looking very well this season, that doesn't look good against Arkansas, and it looks very good with Michigan. And if that happens, I could definitely see the committee taking Michigan at number 10 seed instead of Arkansas.
And it definitely possible. I mean, obviously, if Michigan loses, there's no chance. A win, you can make a case for Michigan to be in over Arkansas, but they do have Arkansas has beaten Hawaii. You
That's
just have to
true.
have a more impressive showing than Hawaii did, and that one's very hard to top when it went to double overtime.
That is true. That is true.
But going on that point, Michigan's pass offense at times has shown to be some of the most entertaining and fun offenses to watch in the league. Does Hawaii have the ability to keep up? They've shown that they have. They've shown they could put up a lot of points. Their defense at times has shown that they can't keep up and get the stops that they need to in crucial moments of the game. I do have Hawaii winning this game, but they cannot stop Michigan's passing attack. It's a completely different story.
Yeah, if Michigan gets their offense going, it could definitely get bad quick. Um, as going back to that Texas versus Michigan, uh, that was
And
a
neither team
shootout.
punted that game.
Yeah,
Neither team
that
punted that game.
that was an absolute shootout. So, long bombs after long bombs. If Michigan can find a way to do that against Hawaii, I could definitely see Michigan pulling this one off. But
If it turns out into like a shootout and where it's nothing but team scoring, and Michigan's winning that game.
yeah, I agree. But um, I do think Hawaii is going to pull it off. But like we said, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan pulls this one off.
Going into the second game of the Thursday slate, the second game of the New Year's slate, as these games are all on New Year's Day, as number 5 Maryland going to take on number 7 Rutgers, and kind of what could be a potential preview of the playoffs, as both these teams are playoff bound at this point in time if the season were to end today. And you'd like to think both these teams make the playoffs no matter what happens this game. Kind of give me your quick thoughts on potentially how this game could go.
Yeah, Maryland versus Rutgers is definitely a great matchup, as I believe they're similar uh, on paper, you could say. Um, both teams having some pretty good wins against good teams, so it's going to be an interesting matchup, and definitely just like that Miami FAU game. If Maryland loses to Rutgers, it could be a little switcheroo, and as like we said earlier, if the playoffs started today, Maryland would have the bye, and Rutgers would be in round one. But if Rutgers pulls off the upset, uh, we could see Maryland in round one and Rutgers with the bye. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, another light breeze game. So, um, yeah, I do think, man, this could go either way, to be honest. Hmm.
Potentially, there's no rain, just light breeze, but both these teams love to run the football.
Yeah, both teams scored 17 points last week in week 8.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Maryland, and here's why. I think obviously both these teams are going to be able to run the ball, and I think they're going to be able to run the ball quite effectively. I slightly like Maryland's defense more, and I also think Maryland has a way better passing attack than Rutgers does.
Okay.
So then, for that reason, I'm going to pick Maryland.
I man, I think I'm gonna go with Rutgers here. I think I
And that's a good. Also, I think this game is clean cut 50-50 in some cases.
yeah, this is literally a 50-50 game. It's gonna be a great game to watch for sure.
But as we go on that note, the last game of Week 9 in the regular season of Season 7 is going to be the only snow game this season as number 4 UNC takes on number 3 Virginia Tech.
Don't jinx it. We still got playoffs.
Regular season, at least. It's the only game of
Yeah,
the
there you
regular
go.
season that
There
they
you go.
know.
Got to throw that in there.
Next thing you know, both semifinals games are snow games, and
Oh
everyone's
Lord.
royally screwed.
But yeah, light snow, moderate wind. Definitely going to be a wild one, as passing games aren't going to be very efficient. So it's going to be a lot of running game, and you know it's going to be who has the better running game. Uh, I believe Virginia Tech. I don't remember if they switch books after week 7 or after week 8.
Uh, well, that definitely I think that is switched before week 8, so
Okay, so it was after week 7. So they played one game with the new book
against I think so. I can't
against.
remember. Dude, a lot has happened since that,
Yeah, they
but that they are in SMU.
no, they were in SMU.
Pretty sure they're still in SMU.
Are they?
Uh, Give me a second to go look. But I do believe they are in SMU.
Southern Miss.
And no, Southern Miss. Okay, they switched out of it. Miami is
Yeah, Miami's SMU.
someone's yeah, Miami is SMU. Okay, that just got that mixed up. Uh, very good running book.
Yeah, it's an air raid, but also a good running book. So definitely a good choice for Virginia Tech there. So it's going to be a great game. Both teams having a bye uh, going into the playoffs as of today, but with a loss and some of those round one teams, uh, if they win in week 9, they could uh, swap out. So it's going to be a must win for UNC and Virginia Tech if they want to keep that round one bye.
I wouldn't call it a true buy because the only true buy is will rank 1 and 2, but I get what you mean in a way. I do think this is more of a must win for. I wouldn't say call it must win. It's a win that UNC would very like to have because they haven't beat VT in week 9 yet.
Yeah, but I'm gonna. This is a hard choice here. Um, I think I'm gonna go UNC.
I'm also going to go UNC.
I I definitely could see Virginia Tech taking this one for sure. Um, I see it going either way, but my heart's telling me UNC.
Yeah, VT definitely on paper and I think especially on the defensive side of the ball and wide receiver core, I do think they have a lot uh, better core in those positions. QB, they have a veteran, Stacy Smith at QB for Virginia Tech, another freshman coming in, Ryan Winley, for UNC. I do think running game is going to be a big focal point. I think turnovers and controlling the clock, especially with the snow. Um, I don't know as much about West Virginia book for UNC than I do the Southern Miss book that VT is using. I do think VT in a way is obviously the heavy favorites going into this game. It's hard to say whether or not the book is going to hurt them in terms of making the offense play a type of way, if that, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I almost could see this being a very low scoring game.
I definitely could agree. I definitely could see that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty low scoring. I could be wrong. This could be a shootout, but I just see it very low scoring game with UNC coming out on top.
And I also have UNC, and that concludes our week 9 walkthrough and predictions as we are heading into the final week of the regular season.
Yeah, this, like we said, this week is going to tell us a lot going into the playoffs, and exciting to see if there's any, you know, wild things happen and some of these bubble teams sneak their way in, but um, they're going to need a lot of help to do so. So it's going to be an interesting week. Uh, as we said, it's rivalry week, so hate week. Everybody kind of hates their opponent this week. Not really, but um, yeah, it's all fun and games. And let's see, let's see.
Only team I hate is OU, and they ain't in the league, so
Yeah, if only.
if only. But they were at one point, and I beat them, and they left. So not really, but they left in season 4 or the conclusion of season 4.
Well, yeah, that concludes this episode. If you want to take us out.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Kind of a little bit of an off-putting type of episode with Christmas break and me moving. A little bit of a shorter episode and not a lot that we wanted to get into. We were able to with the break, but if you want to give any suggestions on what we can improve on, what you'd like to see. We are looking at a couple of different type of things for the next season of the podcast. So be on the lookout for that. And like always, we appreciate everyone for tuning in on YouTube, and thank you for Gates and Vex featuring us on the website. And this is the Brotherhood Blitz.